Hey, what's up? Hello. If you're new here, my name is Kayla and you're watching Kayla's Bookish Vibes. Today's video is going to be a shop my shelves video. We've actually already done one of these here on my channel and it went really well. I ended up sticking to the books that I shopped in that video. If you don't know what a shop my shelf video is, it's pretty much making a TBR, only we don't call it a TBR because if we call it a TBR, we won't actually read the books. So we're just saying that we are prioritizing all of the books that we already own. As you can see, I own quite a few books and I love to shop for books, but I also really need to read the books that I already own. So I'm going to go through my shelf, curate a couple of books, because again, we're not calling this a TBR, based on the mood that we're currently in. I am a mood reader and my mood changes obviously daily. So the books that I'm picking today are going to be based on the mood that I'm in today. And this is why I don't make TBRs, because the mood that I'm in today may not be the mood that I'm in tomorrow, definitely won't be the mood that I'm in next week. So it's really hard for me to stick to a TBR. We're gonna try. The last time we did this, I think we read a majority of the books. There were like 2 books that we didn't actually read, and that's okay. A win is a win. We're going to go through my shelves. And based on the mood that I'm currently in right now, we're going to see what books we choose and we're going to try our best to read them in the month of May. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I have brought you over to our fantasy section. Now, I'm in a fantasy mood, so I think the majority of the books that I'm going to pick today are probably going to be fantasies. I think the last video I did, I ended up picking like books from every genre on my shelf, which was fine. And I know I did that because I know like my mood changes. Sometimes I'm in the mood for a romance. Sometimes I want like a crazy thriller. Sometimes I want a nice historical fiction. Sometimes I want a fantasy. Right now I'm really in a fantasy mood though. So, and there's also a video idea that I really want to do. I haven't committed to it yet. And if that's the case, then we need to pick 3 books, like very specific fantasy books for that video. And those 3 books are literally right here because I was contemplating this video idea. So our choices right now: So Let Them Burn by Camilla Cole. This is a new release. I believe it came out this year. And this is a YA fantasy with dragons in it. We then have The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. This is an adult epic fantasy, I believe. And it has dragons. Are you seeing the theme? Can you guess the video idea? If you haven't been able to guess, then I'm sure you can by this book. This is Dragon Fruit. But as you can tell, this book is also about dragons, but like in a different font. This one is about sea dragons. So I'm sure you can tell the theme of a video that I'm conjuring up in my mind. And if I commit to that video, then we'll need to read all 3 of these books. We're gonna mark these 3 books as our fantasy picks, okay? So I know I want to read at least 1 historical fiction book this month. And what I'm thinking is if I make my middle grade selection my historical fiction and middle grade, then I can knock out 2 genres with 1 book. But also, I've really been wanting to read Pet by Akwaeke Emezi. First of all, I just want to read something about this author. I've never read anything about this author, and I've seen so much hype around her books, around her writing. But this is not a historical fiction. And when I read the synopsis on the back, it was definitely giving me like Halloween, October, fall vibes. And because it's so short, I'm like, this would be like the perfect book to read during that time where I can just like cozy up and read it in one sitting. But the book sounds so good. So it says, there are no monsters anymore, or so the children and Lucille are taught. Jam and her best friend Redemption have grown up with the lesson that the city is safe for everyone. But when Jam meets Pet, a creature who some might call monstrous, but in reality is anything but, she must reconsider what she's been told. Pet has emerged from one of her mother's paintings to haunt a true monster, and the shadow of something grim lurks in Redemption's house. No one has encountered monsters in years, though, and Jam's quest to protect her best friend and uncover the truth is met with doubt and disbelief. This award-winning novel from a rising star author asks, what really makes a monster? And how do you save the world from something if no one will admit that it exists? Something about the synopsis of this book is really reminding me of a book that I'm anticipating coming out this year. I can't even remember the name of it, but I can see the cover in my mind. It's like blue and there's a painting, and I know that like there's something haunting specifically about this painting. I'll put the book here. You can like look it up on Goodreads at the synopsis. It says Pet emerged from one of her mother's paintings to haunt a true monster. It reminds me of that, but it's not historical fiction, and I really want to read historical fiction. So I think I'm going to save this for fall, Kayla, and pick something else for present day, Kayla. So I have my Dear America books. These are honestly, I got these for nostalgic sake, and I don't actually see myself ever rereading them. There may come a point in time where I'll reread them, but just, I'm not there right now. What I'm thinking I'm going to go for though, yeah, this is the one. First of all, I love the cover of this book. It's stunning. Like, it's absolutely stunning, and it feels really good. It feels almost like an oil painting, but it's called Free Water by Amina Luckman Dawson. Don't know if I said that right, but this is a historical fiction middle grade. It says, under the cover of night, 12-year-old Homer flees Sutherland Plantation with his younger sister, unwillingly leaving their mother behind. Through tangled vines, hidden doorways, and over a sky bridge, the two find a secret community called Free Water deep in the swamp. So it seems like it's historical fiction, but also magical realism. Maybe like some fantasy elements. In this society created by formerly enslaved people and some freeborn children, Homer finds new friends, almost forgetting where he came from. But when he learns of a threat that could destroy Free Water, he crafts a plan to return to Sutherland Plantation, free his mother from enslavement, and help his new home. Deeply inspiring and loosely based on the history of maroon communities in the South, this is a striking tale of survival, adventure, friendship, and courage. I was going to say the fact that he escaped to Free Water, and Free Water is like in a swamp, made me think of maroon communities, which, if you're not familiar, maroon communities were when slaves escaped, or even free slaves, they set up these communities in like these less than ideal places, because if you think about a swamp, there's crocodiles in the swamp, there's all types of snakes, just bugs and things. These are less than ideal places, but these are the only places that they can make a community and be free and live with their own laws and own rules. So it did make me think of the maroon communities, and I'm glad to know that this is loosely based on that, and it's middle grade. I'm excited. It sounds like there may be a little sprinkle of magical realism in it. I'm not sure. This is just me speculating from the synopsis, but I'm excited, and I think I'm going to add this to the bag. Okay, we're shopping our shelves. We're going to put this in the bag. We have our fantasy picks. We have our middle grade pick, and the middle grade kind of doubles as a historical fiction pick. I'm not really in the mood for romance, so we're not even going to glance at this shelf. Not to say that I won't be if I do come up, you know, and decide that I want to read a romance. I have plenty of choose from, but we're not going to add it to the shop my shelves video. What I think I'm going to do is pick a thriller, because I'm always in the mood for a good thriller. I tend to like thrillers like in between other genres. Like after a romance, I like to read a thriller. After a fantasy, I like to read a thriller. After historical fiction, I like to read a thriller. Thrillers are just really good palate cleansers. Type of thriller I want to read, because if you know, there are so many subgenres within the thriller genre. But I think I want to read one by a Black author that has been on my shelf for quite a long time. I literally have so many thrillers on my shelf written by Black authors that I have not read yet, and I need to pick one of those. So we're going to pick one. Okay, so I really want to read The Jigsaw Man. There will be another book in this. I don't think it's a series. It is a series. I think it is connected. There's going to be another book, and it comes out this year, but I have to read The Jigsaw Man first before I can read that one. It's escaping my mind. The synopsis of it is escaping my mind, but I do know there is another book by this author related to this book specifically coming out this year. So this one is a contender. Which one is first? I think it's this one, The Three Miss Grays. I need to read this because it's been on my shelf for such a long time, and I can't read this one until I read this one. So this is also a contender. I'm not going to commit to either one of these. I just need to read at least one of them. So I don't have to read both, but I need to read at least one of them. I'm either going to read The Jigsaw Man, which I'm leaning more heavily towards this one, or I'm going to read The Three Mrs. Grays. One of these have to be read by the end of the month. If I read both of them, I get double the points. Don't ask me what the points get me, but I get double the points if I read both of them. But I need to read at least one. And I really feel like I'm going to read this one. I'm more likely to pick this one up based on my current mood. So we're going to put both of these in the pile. Pick like a literary fiction or like a woman's fiction, because we've been neglecting the shelf. So we need to pick one of these. We can read one of our Terry McMillan books because I've been collecting those. And so far I've read Waiting to Excel and Getting to Happy. So I've read 2 of them, which I've really enjoyed both of them. If you didn't know, Waiting to Excel, like from the movie Waiting to Excel, does have a sequel called Getting to Happy, where you're following the same group of women only like 20 years later. They're like in their 50s and life has continued, but it was really good. I enjoyed it. I read both of those. We have It's Not All Downhill From Here, Mama, which I love these covers. How cute are these covers? A Day Late and $1 Short, or Disappearing Acts. I believe this is her newest release, possibly, or maybe this is one that they just re-released with a new cover. But I've seen a lot of people reading this one. So we need to read one of Terry McMillan's books, or we can kind of lean into the summer vibes because it is summer, or summer is approaching, but we're getting there. And I have 2 books by Sunny Hostin, and they're very summery. Like, one is called Summer on the Bluffs, literally, and the other is called Summer on Sag Harbor. There is a 3rd book coming out this year. I forget the name of it. I'll put it here on the screen. And I wanted to get that one because you don't get a lot of like summery books by Black authors about Black characters. So anytime I see one, I'm like snagging them up because, you know, Black people like to read on the beach too. So I could read one of these to see if I like Sunny Hostin's writing and determine if I'm going to pick up the 3rd book. I really want to save one of these though. I really want to save these books for like a beach day, like a beach weekend, a beach read, you know, because it's obviously the vibes, it's fitting. So I think we'll save that. And instead we'll read one of Terry McMillan's books. Disappearing Acts is a romance. I'm not in the mood for romance. I think I'm going to read It's Not All Downhill From Here. I believe this is about a woman later experiencing life, you know, later in her life. So she's like 60s, 70s, approaching 70s. And it's just discussing, I love Terry McMillan's commentary on womanhood and how that looks and how that changes as you get older. I really liked that about Getting to Happy because the characters were like in their 50s and it talked a lot about not just their personal lives but about womanhood in general and how that changes as you get older. So I think I'm really gonna enjoy this one. I think we'll add this to the list. It's Not All Downhill From Here. Adding it to the list. All right, y'all. I'm looking at our stacks of books and it's very ambitious. I'm not gonna lie. These are a lot of books. Am I gonna read all these books this month? I have to be honest with you, probably not. When I look at my average, I've been averaging about 5 books a month. This is more than 5. And they're not short. Like, none of these books are really like tiny books. So for our literary fiction, women fiction, we have Terry McMillan, It's All Downhill From Here. For our thriller, we have The Jigsaw Man or The Three Mrs. Grays. We're gonna pick one. For our historical fiction, doubling as our middle grade, we have Free Water. I'm really looking forward to this book. For our fantasy, and also for like a themed video idea, we have 3 books. Lord, I'm gonna have to get the audio for one of these. We have The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. So Let Them Burn. I've been looking forward to this one. I actually started reading this one and I think I got like a few chapters in and I realized I wanted to do a video on it. And then we have Dragon Fruit, which is our book of the month pick. These 3 books are going to be our fantasy books. And I'm committing right here, right now. We're going to do a video using these 3 books. So these 3 will get read. That's all I got for you today. If you stayed until the end of today's video, I really appreciate you watching. And when it comes to our monthly wrap up, we'll see how well we did. If we stuck to this reading list, if we read all the books that we just shopped from our shelves. The goal is to prioritize reading books that we already own. And we'll see if we can stick to that at the end of the month. If you did make it to the end of today's video, please leave this emoji letting me know that you stayed until the very end. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.